All right, I'm going to get started. Thanks everyone for joining. I see we've got over 100 people now, which is fantastic. I have a lot to cover in 1 hour. Real quick, my name's Andrew. If I haven't met you or worked with you, I'm on the Landmark development team. Um, Sit alongside Adam Finney and direct the web services, grid container, UI, areas of the Landmark platform, and as well as the LPL and configuration team. We've been very active this last year and a half working on this feature set, and it's going to GA in the September update, which is very exciting, and I thought it was time to pull everyone together with what this tool looks like, what its capabilities, feature set is and are, and to give you guys a picture of what is going to GA in September, and take you through a lot of the tool and a lot of the new features. So let's get started with that. I see someone started recording, so thank you. So as I said, this tool, the web config console and security administration in the web will GA in September. When it GAs, it will not invalidate, or prevent the use of the rich client configuration console tool. You can still use both. Although at some point when this takes off, settles down, stabilizes, and is more like for feature functionality, we'd like customers to move away from the rich client entirely. But in September, you can use both tools, and there will be reasons. To use both, and I can highlight that as we go through. I'm not doing a presentation PowerPoint. I'm just going to talk through some points and then really do a lot of demo today. So in general, the Web Config Console tool isn't just slamming what the rich client could do into the web. I mean, we did add most of the capabilities rich client could do as far as managing your configurations and changing LPL. We did have to do that, but we've also improved some areas and added net new functionality as well. And so two of those key areas are managing configurations across data areas or tenants, and we're creating a strong point of view on how to do that and some best practices there, which is historically not been there. We have the tooling and a point of view now to do that, so it's an important item for support and services to get their head around. And we've also added better visibility into the monthly CU update process and comparing what was just delivered in a CU with what you've got configured, and helping customers work through and manage that set of things that they might need to look at, or they might want to stay current. We don't require someone after a CU to go change their configurations, but I think it's a best practice there to stay current, and we've added better tooling to allow for that. In addition, we've added a lot more, and I'm sharing it on the screen you might be looking at, is helping support development and services in the field wrestle with what's changing on a customer's environment if things go south or things start to go wrong or look funny. It's now much easier to start that triage process. And I've actually used this with some customers and found pretty positive success here. Okay, so in general, I'll move into demo now. That's just a quick overview. I'll start to show some of the tools. So we've added 2 new web apps in the web UI. and they are provided by the existing security classes and or roles that we provided before. So if you had access to the config console in the rich client, you now have access to web config console in the web UI. There's nothing you have to do. It will start showing up for you. And similarly, if you're a global security administrator or security configuration console person, we use those same security classes to deliver the access to the security administration web app. They will start to show up in the application switcher. So I'm sitting here in configuration console, and there's also a security administration application that will show up. Okay, so in configuration console, here's the general breakdown. We've added a home page, which is a dashboard, which you've been looking at. So you can now see configuration activity that's been happening in the last 14 days, and we show you what it is and who did it. We highlight anything that's invalid quickly and easily. Same for personalizations. Here in my case, there's nothing. But here's the personalization activity going on in the last 14 days. Anything invalid for reports. So we're just trying to pull together both system health and things changing on the system. And this is a great place to start if someone calls in and says, hey, I've got configurations going invalid around 5 a.m. It happened at 5 a.m. You come in here and look and say, well, someone was making changes around 4:58 a.m. Here's who did it and here's what they changed, and you can start a triage thread from there. That's an exact example of what happened with a customer recently. All right, moving down, we've got certain areas in the configuration console. One is configuration, the next is personalization and reports, and then change management. The data area, I'm not going to get into deeply. It's stuff that's in the rich client. We didn't really evolve it much, but you have access to time zones and MIME types and some of the phrases that you did before. And then basic access is basically if you did a data menu search or went right to user field or user relation or the business class we store this stuff in. We've just made it easy for you to do that, so you don't have to search now, but you can go get right to that stuff directly. It's just there. We don't really, it's not necessary to use it, but it's there if you need it. And then utilities, real quick, was basically a copy from administration console from the configuration and personalization section. So we pulled in that information, the configuration related stuff from admin console up into configuration console. So it's a one-stop shop. I'll come back to these two net new items later, and then an LPL viewer, which I'll demo as well. So let's get into each of these three sections. They're very similar in nature. The configuration console provides a way to search for, your configurations. We don't have, it's not that tree structure anymore. So if you want to look for stuff in a given business class or by name, you do a quick search, or you can search for any type. I want to find all of the lists or form or field configurations. You can do that, or anything active or inactive, whatever. And you can see the list down below. So here's a list on manufacturer. You click on it, and you can see the LPL right here, plus some other information, and the ability to, quickly turn it off, make it a personalization, or start to do some comparisons with what's delivered. We make that easy to go get to the delivered LPL for the object you're looking at there. Quick description, in LPL history, this is the changes you've made over time. And if I click, this will compare that change to the current configuration, but compared to previous, it's kind of nice. You can see what's been changing over time. And we have down below, using this new editor in place, we start to highlight differences much easier. What's changing for status, and who's been doing it. And tags is a new feature I'll get to in a bit, but you can tag, essentially you can tag individual configurations with one or many tags, and those are used for various reasons I'll get into down the road here. So that's a quick high level flavor of what the console looks like and capabilities. If you need to change something, you hit edit. And in here, you can see the editor is doing some color coding. And this editor is based on the VS Code IDE. And it comes with a whole set of nice commands and searching, tabbing, highlighting, all the stuff you kind of expect from an IDE is wired in here into this control. And so working with LPL itself is much nicer in this tool once you get into here. It also has, when you start looking at longer configurations, it has these folding capabilities. You can see, fold all, unfold all. It really helps you navigate and find things around. So just working with LPL in general has improved a lot, both visually and with the capabilities this editor affords and shortcut keys. And you can see this standard IDE stuff, but this is a short one. But you can grab more broadly and see where you are in a longer configuration. And I can kind of show that off in this feature we've added and expanded called LPL Viewer. LPL Viewer is showing you, for the product you're in, HCM, IUFIN, whatever, everything we deliver for LPL source code. And so here is, I can find an example of, I'm in a test product line, but we have something called employee. You can see here it's a little longer. And I can kind of move up and down and find things quickly. If I fold all and I start to expand out, you can see I can find the steps very quickly, and I don't have to wade through and search a lot of stuff. That was kind of nice. Like unfold all, or I can go this way. And if I do a search, you can see I'm searching for employee. You can see all the hits in here, and you can quickly move up and down. That kind of broad stuff is just really nice when you're working with big LPL. But in general, LPL Viewer, we're showing you what we deliver for business class source, which is what I'm looking at here, or the UI side, right? And so in addition to that, we break down all the lists and forms and the individual pieces, so I can look for any list on any given business class, which is really nice for configuration folks who want to know what this derived field means, what this condition's made up of, what this relation does, or how it relates, etc. Both from and what an action does and what this message means. But a new thing we've added is this type field, which includes a way to get to the key field definition for any given business class we deliver, and what we call type fields or group fields. So I can search for postal address now, and here you can see what we call a field, the group field definition, and you can see what this group field is made up of, and what all of these fields like display address line 1 means. So you have access to those now in LPL Viewer. That was kind of a murky, hidden thing in when using the rich client in some of the delivered LPL Viewer stuff we have. So just note that that's accessible now, as are the key fields and all of the source we deliver in the config console. So back to configurations. So we've got our console, and I'll circle back to these in a little bit when we get into another new feature. Of course, to create something, we have this single page, and you can see the different pieces. I can configure something existing, I can add something new, web apps and menus, and then all the field. We have you take decide what fields you want to create first, and then lead you down the path of entering the right things. Same for actions, and then all of the other stuff that we support, relations and business classes, product line. It's all right here in Create in one nice spot. And if you want, you can do personalization and report as well, but those are also available if you come in through these menus. So back to configurations. So we've got our console, and I'll circle back to these in a little bit when we get into another new feature. Of course, to create something, we have this single page, and you can see the different pieces. I can configure something existing, I can add something new, web apps and menus, and then all the field. We have you take decide what fields you want to create first, and then lead you down the path of entering the right things. Same for actions, and then all of the other stuff that we support, relations and business classes. It's all right here in Create in one nice spot. And if you want, you can do personalization and report as well, but those are also available if you come in through these menus. Master. So console is our view is that console is where you'll be doing making a lot of changes and doing a lot of development work. Master is somewhat of a simpler list that's more about searching across and general administration. It's showing you the same things. It's showing you all of your configurations. This is just a different way to search and slice it and centrally admin across all of them. And that's the high-level picture of what Configuration Console looks like. One new feature we added in Configuration Console in the web is this notion of summary and detail report. I'm going to try to run a detail report, and what this should do is it will go create a PDF document of all of my configurations. And detail meant I wanted the LPL as well. And you can see now, if you've ever wanted to ask a customer for if they call in and they're having an issue, and it's just on a form or with a couple of configs, the historical problem is they have to do an export of everything, somehow share that export with us, the scrubbed PII, and then we have to load it somewhere to be able to see what the few pieces they built out in that solution are to be able to replicate or just to look at if we want to understand what they're trying to do more. This is a really quick, low-cost, easy way if that's all you need to do. And you don't have to have an environment to load this in, which doesn't scale well when you're dealing with 30 customers and all these configurations. And we just don't have enough environments to do it all. And so that's one nice thing about this feature. The other one is if I wanted to find a place where this user field was used across all of my configurations, you can search this thing and it'll tell you where something's used in any list, form, menu, page, or whatever, because it's all in one PDF document. It's very portable. So it's something to be aware of.
So I have a question, Andrew. We already have, I imagine some of these configurations get really, really expensive for some of our customers. How big of a PDF is that going to generate? I mean, this is 77 pages long. I'm concerned with
nothing compared to what FSM customers are ripping out for data.
Right.
We've had people generate multi-thousand page PDFs before.
Okay. I'm just thinking of that. I mean, this is 77 page, but I imagine we have thousands of page configurations with customers.
I forget. I've loaded one of our big customers' stuff and done this, and it wasn't that scary.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't gonna introduce performance issue on PDF generation, because that's been a hot topic, right?
It's a lot of pages, but you get bloat like this. This is just one record. It's one record, but how many pages? It's really not a pages issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's just object size and memory, I guess. So is the big issue.
Yep, we'll have to watch out for it. I mean, I think we're okay. It's typically less than 500 records.
Mm-hmm. We probably, I mean, on the PDF generation, we do limit the number of records returned. So that might be something where someone exports something and doesn't get everything.
Yeah. All right, good question. Moving on to personalization, it's very much the same. You've got a console, so same kind of capabilities. Historically, we did not have a strong central administration place to look at and manage personalizations. This holds it together here and makes it consistent with what you expect from the configuration. So now you can go see, you can go search for an actor, see what they have, see what they've been changing and why. You can see what's invalid or inactive. This helps you maintain and keep on top of the personalizations out there. I don't need to go in deep into a lot of the capabilities here. It's very much the same as configuration. However, we did add here the ability to share a personalization. So a central config console type person, if someone built a personalization that they would like to share with the rest of their department, we added this little share action. And you can share with an actor or an actor group. And, you know, actor groups is a hierarchy, so you can say, do I want just that group or anything below? You know, what if they already have one? Should we override or skip? So it's now, we threw this in, it's possible now to share personalization, but you need to ask someone to help you with it. We were looking at peer-to-peer personalization sharing. That's not what this is. This is more a back office person working with a business person saying, yeah, I'd like to roll this out to a few people. And it doesn't make sense to be a configuration. That's the other question, is why not make a config? So just note that this is a capability now if it ever comes up out there. Okay, I'm going to move on to report. Same thing, central report administration. What are my people creating out there for embedded reports? Who are they sharing them with? What changes are they making? How is it changing over time? How does it compare to the current delivered LPL and all that kind of stuff? Again, centrally administer, maintain, keep up to date on what apps are changing over time and what these reports may or may not be missing out on. Just all pulled together in one spot. There is also a read-only set of security class, or one security class. So you could, this was based on customer feedback. They said, I really want someone to be able to look at what's configured to help with triage and support, like a key business person, but I don't want them making changes. Or I don't want anyone making changes in production, but people need to see stuff. And so there is now a new inquire-only version of Config Console, and there's also the full version, which is what I'm using right now. Just note that there is a read-only version of this. All right, so moving into, so that's a lot of the basic blocking and tackling of making and changing configurations over time. Next up are a couple of new features we added. One is this change management area. And in change management, this is all about customers making changes in a development tenant, moving them up to a test tenant, and getting them out to production confidently and safely with some process wrapped around it. And so the high-level version of this is as I'm making changes in the configuration console, so I'm changing X, Y, and Z, building out a solution for a benefits rollout, whatever. I can tag each thing I'm working on. And so let's see if I've done that here. So if I go look at tags, I can work in the configuration console in a couple different ways. If I know I'm working on a project, I can create a tag for that project, and I can tag the configurations I'm working on to support it. And now when I come to tags, I don't have to keep moving around in a tree or searching over in this manage view back and forth. I can go to tags, and everything I'm working on across business classes or for different types of things shows up here. And I can do all of the stuff that I was showing in the config console already. I don't have to keep moving back and forth. So this is really useful, I think, from a development perspective. Another one is I'm not tagging stuff necessarily. I can search for a tag here, but I can also come in here and say, well, show me everything that I've been changing recently, and the stuff I'm working on for the project will be at the top of the pile. And so I can work across things this way too. Like, I'm working on these 3 things to support this, and I can just move back and forth to compare, edit, you know, and I can work that way. So just a couple different ways for people making changes and doing configuration work. we'll see what feedback we get on these. Really, we've seen a lot of people working in master for whatever reason, but I think as people get used to it, this might have some use, and certainly tags. The other part of tagging, beyond working with sets of configurations and doing project work, is if I can tag things, I could now start to describe sets of things I want to move across tenants. And that's the one fundamental reason we created tags. And so now, back in Manage Changes, here are the tags again, similar view. I can see what configurations are tagged with whatever, mixed bag tag 2, and I can see what's in it. And now I start to create, I start to move out across to a different tenant. You create what's called a bundle. And that's just a definition of a set of configurations you want to wrestle with, which can be one tag or many. And so now here I've created a bundle called a definition that says I want one or many tags. Like this one has 2. You can see the tags that make it up. It will go find all of the configurations tagged with these one or either of these tags. And you can see which one brought that configuration in. This is just a definition. It's nothing fixed in time. So at any point, if anyone changes any of these configurations, I'll see them show up here. It's not until you're ready to move exactly what you have here tagged with these 2 things with the exact LPL you want that you would create a snapshot. A snapshot, I'll just keep moving over. A snapshot is an exact copy of all the configurations found in that bundle. And it becomes a copy fixed in time at the point in time that the snapshot was made, right? So if you create a snapshot and then you go start changing any of those configurations, that is not in the snapshot. So you can continue development work on those things in that development system, and the snapshot is not impacted. The snapshot is what is moved across tenants. So that snapshot is, here are just the configurations that I tagged as part of that and bundled in that bundle definition, and that is what we're going to go import. So once I create a snapshot, let me just slow down a little bit. I've created a snapshot. Here's what's in that snapshot. So you can see the snapshot LPL. On this current system I'm looking at, what's the configuration say today? And you can diff the 2. And if I just created a snapshot and didn't make any changes, they're going to be identical. But things can keep changing on that system, and you might see some differences here, and you might want to know that. Ultimately, when you're happy with what you've got in the snapshot, you're going to go export that thing, which is a quick action here. And then there's the SFTP work, similar to CD export, CD import. So you're going to have to move, which is basically used. John Spurley added the switch to CD export import to take in a snapshot definition. So this is using CD export, CD import under the covers. So when you import that snapshot from dev, now let's pretend I'm over on test now, you can see where it came from, when it was imported. And what we're showing here is the pending operation for those configurations. Now, when you imported this, it did not overwrite the live running configurations. It staged it conceptually. This is not impacting where you imported it yet. That's a very important thing, because you need to make sure it's what you want on this target system, and you run some validation activities to make sure the parsing's solid so nothing goes awry in invalid. So we're going to import here, not impact the live runtime configurations, and we're going to have a chance to do some analysis. And this is what we will expect customers to be doing. And what the view we give here is, for the snapshot I imported, hey, has it been, did it pass validation yet or not? That's kind of what these highlights mean. We give some high-level information, but inside the snapshot, you can see if I were to apply this to this system and make it live in the runtime, here's what'll happen. Oh, this is an update. This is a weird test thing, but it'll tell you if this was marked for delete. It'll tell you if it's going to create it, or tell you if it's going to update what you've got there. And as I click on each thing, you can see, again, what was snapshotted, what the current configuration on this target system has, and you can do comparisons. And you can see this is essentially what is about to change when I apply this. You can make sure it's exactly what you want. So the process flow then is, you're feeling good about what you've got here, you've done your comparisons, you will run a validate action. A validate says, I'm going to take the holistic set of configurations in this snapshot, I'm going to assume they're live, and I'm going to parse everything, every configuration you've got with the application version running on this target, and I'm going to do like a deep parse, and we'll give you feedback both on the snapshot level and each individual configuration item. So here in this case, I think I kind of, to test this, I just really hacked the snapshot LPL and I just put in a bunch of Ds, and I ran a validation on this, and you can see, like right here, this did not pass that validation, and we give the feedback, the parsing output here, like, wow, this is just not right, we expected this, and here's all the feedback you need for each of the items, and then here's the overall status. So I don't know I can't remember now if we will not let you apply this, but we will certainly warn the heck out of you that you're about to put something that's not going to be successful into live runtime. And so typically, though, you're going to get green. It validates good. And when you click apply, that's when we copy those configuration items into the live runtime configuration. And then that ultimately is what an applied snapshot is. It means it's been a snapshot got onto the system and then it was applied. We do share, we do capture what was done. So you can look back over time and say, well, this was updated, this was deleted, this was added. And we share what the LPL was at the time. And you can always compare whatever was there to whatever is currently as the configuration, because time goes on, work goes on, things are always changing. You can always get that comparison. We did provide a rollback, so if for whatever reason that is not users or the system is not happy, you can take, I don't know, this might be, there is a roll, maybe not here, but somewhere there's a rollback. Yeah, there's a rollback snapshot action. I was at the wrong level. So you got to be careful here, because this is going to put back the copy of the configuration that was in place just before the snapshot was applied. And subsequent changes could have happened since then. So you have to be very careful about rollback and what you're doing and what's been happening on that system, but the capability is there. Let's see, did I get through?
I have a question here, Andrew.
Yep.
Just from a development perspective, do you guys have any concept of like a merge request where, since we do like permissions, you either have permissions to do configs or not, I would think it would be nice for customers to be able to go through and say, you know, on certain configurations or anytime a new configuration's added, these two people have to approve it in like a more of like a code review fashion. Is that a capability or something that you're looking at?
Yeah, it is something we're looking at. What I want to wrap around this is kind of like a continuous CI/CD pipeline. So I've got a snapshot, and I want to request a move and sort of automate the move across. I've actually built some of it using IPA, and it runs it through a default approver workflow, and I can click approve or reject, and it kind of automates a lot of the button clicks I was doing, essentially, wrapped around an approval process.
And I'm just talking about like enforcing it, right? Where somebody with configuration permissions can't actually create one without getting approvals, right? Like something along those lines. I don't know if that's something that you've thought of or not.
It's something we're looking at. Like I'm working in development, and the only way to get something to production is through this gated approval process, right? Yeah, it's something where it was not a phase one thing, and it's kind of a neat idea, and it's half built.
So Andrew, in early 11, there were problems with getting the dictionary locking up when people were making production config changes, during the business day. Are we still under that kind of a, hey, try not to do this at night, or try to do this at night, not during the business day thing, or have they been able to resolve the issues with that?
Well, I think that's still a best practice. If you're making production changes, doing them during your non-peak hours is just generally a good idea. What we're doing here, Dennis, is, and hey, Dennis, good to hear from you. Because we're letting you move smaller pieces and running validation of that thing against the target system, customers should have more and more confidence. And if they follow that religiously and tests matches production from a configuration standpoint, we should have more and more confidence to be able to do it during the day. But I still think it's the best practice not to. And we have hundreds of customers making, and I'm sure you know, live production configuration changes all day, every day. One change or 100 changes can equally do bad things. So we've sorted out a lot of that, and we've gotten better and better with our parsing. But I don't know, just a quick answer.
No, good to hear, and that's fine.
Yep. All right.
Thanks. Thank you.
You bet. I want to make sure. Oh, I need to. Okay, I'm going to keep going with this. I missed something, but I'm going to circle back to it. So that's what managed changes is all about. You can see kind of from left to right, depending on if you're on a source system or a target system, you can see what's been happening here from a snapshot perspective. Administration is just, again, a master list search across kind of view, showing you each of these things in a different way. Here's how you import a snapshot. It's just asking, just like CD import, like give me the file, where is it, right? And that snapshot was created with the export action on a different system. I want to quickly touch on system snapshots. A system snapshot is a special snapshot, and the high-level use case here is I would like to compare production with test. And we solve that for you by creating this special system snapshot. So what you do in a system snapshot is you go to your whatever production and you create a system snapshot. It basically takes all of your configurations. You don't have to go tag everything. We didn't want you to have to tag all of your stuff just to do this. And so you can decide if you want to do configurations and/or personalizations and/or security classes, or just one of the three. Here in this case, I've got a system snapshot that grabbed all three, and you can see where it's from, when it was created. And what we show you, I have something compelling here. What we show you then, so you've done a system snapshot from prod, you've imported it into test. Now that doesn't update and overwrite actual runtime configurations. It's staged. We never intend for you to apply that really. But what you can do is, with the views we give you, you can compare the two. And so snapshot only means, with my use case, again, that the snapshot came from production and you're putting it on test. Snapshot only means, hey, I only found these things in production. They don't exist on test. So that's one difference. They don't exist in one place. They don't exist in test. Differences means they exist on both sides, but the LPL doesn't match. And that's what we'll show here in this list. And we'll show you the snapshot config, the configuration on the system, and then we'll diff them for you. Local only means that it's not in the snapshot from production, and it's only found in test. So this is something that's in test that you haven't gotten to prod yet, right or wrong, you know, expected or not. And then identical, just to make you feel good, they're on both sides and the LPL matches. And so now, I mean, this gives you just somewhat of a quick and easy way to be able to compare two tenants or two data areas and see what's wrong, see what's different, and you know if you expect it or not. We did add, well, based on my data and where you are, we did try to add the ability for you here in each spot, depending on where you are, the ability to take actions or do edit to reconcile the two. Like I say, we do not want you to apply a system snapshot, but you can deal with the differences. Like here is a case where I just want to overwrite local. That means I'll take the LPL from the snapshot and overwrite this one configuration. And so now you can sync them up and they'll be identical. So you can work through differences and shore up your target snapshot comparison and make them more the same, all right? And that was the intention behind System Snapshot. Okay, moving on. One last thing, and then I'll open it up for questions. And to do this, I'm going to move to a system, a live multi-tenant system. And here I am in the config console. I'm in change management again. And now we're moving into the space of, after every CU, how do I know what changed and what it means to my configurations? So it's the keeping up to date with app changes and configurations and the intersection of those two things. And we created this set of tools called LPL version analysis. I've clicked on all versions, and this takes a little while to run, expectedly, you know, up to a minute. What this view is doing is it's showing me the last 5 application CU versions applied on this system. And I've selected CU40 here. This is a GHR system. And what it's showing me are, for that CU, the impacted configurations. Impacted configuration means the application changed that thing, that view, that list in CU40, and you have it configured. So it's those two things is what shows up in the list of impacted configurations. So if you have it configured, but CU40 didn't change it, who cares? No impact, doesn't show up on this list. And vice versa, if CU40 changed it, but you don't have it configured, it's not going to show up on this list. It's where both intersect. And what we allow you to see then, here I'm looking at this form, I can compare what the application had in CU40 with what my configuration currently is. And we do this diff down here for you using the editor. So I can see, oh, wow, they added, or I removed, or whatever happened here. You can see, look, well, they added a field to this form. I don't really care about that, or I do. And you can do these a couple different edit views to reconcile it. So if you want to keep up with what CU40 delivered, you can do it right here, tag it, and then start the whole snapshot, bundle snapshot process when you're done going through all of the stuff you care to do. You can, this view, application version comparison, lets you, I say it as, this lets you see what the application team was up to. So it's comparing CU40 with the current version of the application on the right. So over time, or at least up to the last 5 CUs, you can see what the application team's been up to. And that might help you decide if this diff is challenging, what you might want to do in your configuration. Compare last version just reorients the view. It doesn't give you this right here. It basically puts the impacted configurations, like this list, right here, because it knows we pre-select the latest CU41 or whatever the current version is for you, and you can just work down. I can't show you compare last because this compare last didn't actually have any changes in it for the configurations on this system, but it's just a different, same thing, same concepts, just a different view, and it's a little more like the configuration console. I can click on a configuration on the left and see this stuff in a larger view on the right. All right, I'm going to get back to here, and I'm going to move. So before I leave here, outside of snapshots and validating snapshots, we've added some more health checks if you want to run health checks on your whatever tenant. And we created this validate configurations action. And this will basically perform a full deep parse of all the configurations active and invalid on that system at the time. It's different than when I'm in config console, just changing one thing at a time. I mean, what we're doing there is just syntactically making sure that that thing is grammatically correct. This will take and do a parse similar to what validate does on a snapshot, but it just does it for the current runtime configurations. And so this update means if it finds that an invalid configuration in the system right now could be made active because it's not an invalid problem anymore, update just means it will go ahead and change that status back to active. If you don't check anything, it just runs it in report mode. And I can run strict parsing is an option where one example is when you view a form configuration and it used to have a user field on that form showing a user field, but someone went and deleted that user field on you. Well, we are fault tolerant there, and a form is accepting of a missing field, so it won't go invalid. But if you do strict parsing, it's as if you were in the config console trying to save that form configuration. It'll give you the message that this form isn't quite right. And so strict will just go straight on grammar and kind of work around our fault tolerance in different spots. So if you want to know what's really, really wrong grammatically, but maybe not impacting an end user, that's what strict parsing is going after. If I hit submit, this will run. How long it runs, it depends on how many configs you've got. Here you can see when it runs, it takes me to the results. I can open the results, and I can kind of work down problems if there are problems. So this is a more sophisticated in the field triage utility we in development somewhat built for ourselves. So if we start asking for, hey, could you get the validation configuration report, this is a nice tool to help us troubleshoot really deep, complicated problems that aren't obvious in the config console tooling itself. Okay.
Hey, Andrew, quick question. When you run your validate configs, is it only looking at active configs, or is it looking at inactive and invalid ones?
Active and invalid. It does not look at inactive.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, last thing in config console before I move to security is a neat little feature that we added. If I go to a field, customers have always asked for this. So if I've got this user field and I want to know where I've put it, yes, I can do the PDF export thing and search it. But we did add this navigation called Find an LPL. What this will do is go look at all of your configs, and it's not doing a language server type syntax check. It's just looking for a text string. So it's just doing a string compare, which is pretty good. It's not ideal. Maybe some way Dave will be able to do both. But you'll see that this went and looked for where that field text is used anywhere in your configuration or personalization. You can see here, wow, that field is used. I guess if I should have copied that, but you can see here it's used here. You know, it's used across all of these configurations, valid or invalid. So that's a nice little powerful feature to know where a list is used, where a field is used, where this form is referenced. It's definitely something you kind of have to know about right now. It's a drill on any configuration. You can say find an LPL and it'll show you where that thing's used. Nice for development when you want to go change this and know what's impacted by the change. You can get a list of that now. Okay. The most talking I've done in a while, so I need a drink. All right, so I'm going to move to security administration. Okay. Similarly, in security administration, we created a dashboard. So, hey, what security change configuration have you been doing in the last couple of weeks? What's inactive? What security classes have you added that are inactive now? Any actor role changes? Any role security class changes? So it just kind of gives you a sense of the health of and any recent changes. If some things have gone south lately, you can kind of quickly see what's changed, which is very helpful in triage. Outside of that, we added a configuration console. So here are just your security configurations. Again, you can't change a security class template. So this is just the stuff you've made copies of or added net new. You can see the LPL and edit, deactivate, all that kind of stuff. We kind of highlight, hey, there's no roles assigned, or we give you, if you click manage, it kind of pulls you into, I can start making changes. I can see what roles this is tied to or not. That kind of stuff from here. Description, we're giving LPL history. So these are the changes you've been making to the security class over time. So this is what I've been doing. And you can always compare it to your current, whatever version to your current security class configuration. Status changes. And a new, really important feature we've got put in is when you copy a security class, we're tracking what you copied it from, what template you copied it from. Well, template or other, you could copy from your own security configuration. But let's say you copied from a template. Now we can track back to a source and start to do differences. And so what this is showing is for the current version of the template that Infor is delivering, I can compare it to my configuration. I don't even know how customers, if they're doing this today, I don't even know how they're doing it, but I've heard customers tracking things manually. Where did I copy this from? They've come up with all kinds of crazy ways. This brings it together to be able to diff my security class config back to a template and start to shore things up if I need to. In addition to all the changes tracking and comparing to previous and current, really big change for security, the security side. Of course, I can create and copy security classes from here. Similar concept, master is just about searching across and more central admin, kind of slicing and dicing. And basic access is, again, I can see my configurations. I can see all the security class templates now. Today in the rich client, it's one list and these are all commingled, which gets kind of, I struggle with that. So I made views to separate these two. Or if you want it all together, you can get it all together in all. But security class template, you'll see create a copy we now ask you, and this should be populating, I don't know why it's not, but what are you copying this from? So we can start to track back if you want to do comparisons over time. To catch, since we haven't had this feature for a while, to catch up, we did add this update copy from action, which allows you on any security class config to populate that. So you can start to keep track of stuff like that. So we did create an action for customers to catch up for all of the stuff if they know what they copied from. Some do, some don't. And then the rest, that's the high level for security class configurations and management. You can tag security classes. They take part in bundles and snapshots, so just like app config, UI configs do. The rest of these menu items were pulled in from the other gen web apps that we deliver for user, system, and author management. So these are identical straight copies from the other stuff that already exists. So we just pulled it together into one security administration place. So you're very familiar with the rest of these. Administration is from the administration console. For the security pieces there, pulled that over here too. So you have one-stop shop for security in security administration side. And
hey, Andrew, one quick question. So maybe you already covered this. So what role do we need to assign to somebody if they need access to this? And I mean, are there?
I don't know them offhand. It's the same stuff everyone's already using for getting config console access in the rich client or security configuration in the rich client. I could publish that after this, what the exact security classes are, but okay. It's nothing different or new to get access to this outside of if you want to do inquire only.
Okay.
Yep. What is the one for inquire only, Andrew? Is there a new role for that, or how does that work?
That's a new security class. It's all in the doco. Along the way with our early adopter process, we included documentation from the beginning. And each time we put out new feature functionality, we worked on documenting it. So we wanted to fork it. So there's a new web configuration console documentation section. It's all in there. I know we got the Inquire stuff in there. So that's one place to go source this. I can send this stuff on this meeting chat when we're done too. And finally, it's something that Kelly had posted, just a tidbit for everyone to know. In documentation out here in docs.info, we've always had this developer section. There's always been an LPL section. And historically, it's just been what we give the BNF, which is the spec for LPL. And we've had a few examples like we get a lot of questions on. Been working with Kelly and the training folks and trying to source, really getting examples, LPL examples, usage examples, and we're trying to break them out by both use case or component. So an example working with fields is, hey, how do I, whatever, convert it to uppercase? And so we've built up based on training, based on my experience, app experience. We're trying to build up a set of usage examples that really kind of gives customers a leg up. And I'm trying to break it down in an organized way, working with dates, how do I change a form UI? You can see the categories. And then just, if I don't have a use case, I know I need to do something with the button. Like, what are all the things I can do with the button? This is in flight. This will never be done. If you get asked the same question 1,000 times, I want to know about it because we want to put it in here. And we get more and more examples in here, the stronger we'll be. So that's a documentation plug. But with 1 minute left, are there any burning questions that someone's got to have answered?
text comparisons that we've seen here look interesting and maybe useful to other LPL application code. Are the text compare controls available at the application level?
You mean in VS Code or Eclipse?
No, just in if we wanted to expose a comparison feature to an HCM user, so they can compare a couple pieces of text within the HCM application. Is there a way to present that like you're showing within a landmark application comparing this code?
Well,
maybe not code, but just some arbitrary text.
Yeah, something we can talk about, Ben. Right now, that editor is the Monaco editor. It's an Angular component wrapping the Monaco editor, which comes out of VS Code. It's not a fully functional, fully typed LPL field yet. We kind of cooked it up in the config console in a special way. But if I'd like to know your use cases, because we've talked about expanding it to be more general purpose field, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, my use case went away, but I might be interested in it in the future, so I'll get in touch if it comes back. Another one comes up.
Okay.
Andrew,
All right.
I have a question. Back on a security dashboard, is that data just a report or they're stored in a business class that we can query? Yeah, that one. You are muted or we cannot hear.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you. Everything I'm showing here is a list. Everything I've shown you is built with LPL and is a business class in a list. So this is just a live list that you could call it web service to get or create a report. Yeah, I mean, it's accessible just like any other thing in any other application is accessible.
From IPA, for instance, right?
IPA, yeah. Yep.
The other question, personalization versus configuration. Personalization used to override on rich client. What's the relation now?
Those rules are the same. No change. But you might have seen that, I mean, we give more I glossed over that, but we give more visibility here now that will show you, hey, you know, you've got configurations that you've made for whatever reason that are being overridden, and you ought to know about it. And we tell you how many people have personalized it if you've got a config on it. And all of the rules are the same. A personalization wins out over a config, and you know that's all the same.
Okay, and the last question. So on rich client, when you make configuration via LPL, it warns you that if you use configure feature, you may lose some of the changes. Is that the same on web UI?
Yeah, right. And you may have noticed, I didn't go into it, but we don't have a lot of the WYSIWYG GUI tools that help you build the LPL up with a graphical user interface assistance. It's all straight edit LPL. So because of that, there is no warning like that. I mean, you're essentially in the web config console right now, always doing the pencil edit LPL.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And you know, we want to move towards. There are some spots where it really helps to have common things or help with discovery of capability. You know, we want to move towards not always being just edit LPL, but that's where we sit today.
Oh.
This is Pedro Park and Terrace Park at this time, Lisa. Yep, they're identical.
Okay, so when are we gonna have access to a sandbox we can play with?
Well, we've been shipping this since last year, incrementally every CU. So it's been available as of the June update. It's basically fully functional. All of the features we wanted to get in are in. So in September, you don't have to do anything. If you have config access already, you'll get this automatically. until then, you just need to do some security configuration work to get it. And I can share how to do that if you're on builds before September.
So in September, you're going to uncomment out that web app rule?
That's already been done. Yep. Yep. I'll share how to turn it on now if you don't have the September update yet. If you have September, there should be nothing you have to do. I think last week already we changed it, so you're kind of current on our main line. You're good to go, or should be. I guess build number, like I say, we've been shipping this to customers for about a year now. They've been using it for early adopters, I mean. There is no specific build number. As of mainline of a week ago, this is GA. There's nothing special you need to do. All right, I think in the interest of time, I hope this was useful. I got through everything I wanted to get through. If you have questions, hit me directly. Love to answer it. If you got ideas, love to hear it. I appreciate your time, everyone.
Thank you.